Hey everybody, it's Ranger Melissa.
Happy Glacier Science Day!
I am so excited today. We are going over to the east side of the park and we are going to meet up with Brent Rowley, a park archaeologist who's going to show us some amazing discoveries that are popping out of a riverbank. I'm not going to tell you any more than that. You have to stay tuned and follow us to the east side. So come in with me and let's go. We're going to have a great time. Don't want to miss this one. Come on.
Hey, you made it! Welcome, we're on the east side and I'm really excited. I'm standing next to a river, on a riverbank that's eroding due to natural processes. And because of this erosion, there are some amazing archaeological finds that are popping out. And we're gonna speak with Brent Rowley, one of the park archaeologists, who's gonna tell us what they're finding and why it's significant. So I'm excited to talk to him today. Right above me, there's kind of a grassy meadow area. That's gonna be important when we hear from Brent in a minute, so remember that. All right, here comes Brent now. He's coming down the trail.
Hey, Melissa.
Brent, I am so excited to learn about what you guys are discovering. I have no idea what's going on here, so tell me what I'm looking at.
Well, the first tip off that there's something here is this rather large bone right here.
My gosh, are you guys seeing this? Look at this. It is a bone, it's huge. What's it from?
And so this is a bison bone, it's a long bone, so it was probably like a femur or a humerus.
Okay, wow, that's awesome.
This is a vertebrae.
Oh my gosh.
And right here you have a piece of a rib bone. And this is a pretty big rib bone, so definitely indicating a large mammal like a bison.
Okay.
So in the 1990s, an archaeological survey in this area of the park identified bones eroding out of this bank. The archaeologists were suspicious that it might be part of a Native American bison kill site once they saw the size of the bones. So they sent the bones off to a lab for testing, and the bones dated to 960 years before present, 1,060 years before present, and 1,400 years before present. But the archaeologists then came back and investigated this bank, and they identified flakes of quartzite, which means that people were here making stone tools in the same area that the bone is eroding out. Additionally, they identified cut marks on some of the bones when they took them back to do laboratory analysis of them. And by cut marks, I mean that's where people were butchering the bone. You know, with that information in mind, they also took a look at the landforms around this terrace that's eroding out. And it is very similar to the landforms in other areas of the park where they've identified bison drives. So where indigenous people were driving bison down usually alluvial fans or along lake shores into some sort of trap. They would build drive lines along the alluvial fan which would be kind of like fence lines. And this works just like a bison jump is what people were more familiar with, but this is the sort of type of bison kill that would happen in a mountain environment. And so in this case, they were probably driven down an alluvial fan into a trap of some sort, which would be made of like a fence with bison hide on it. And that's important to note that it probably had bison hide on it because bison biologically are herd animals. And so they like and feel most comfortable when they're next to other bison. So once people would drive them into the trap after sort of stampeding them down the drive line, the bison would actually feel comfortable because they're surrounded by all these bison hides and their eyesight is bad enough that they would think that, oh, I'm next back in the herd, I can calm down. And then people would jump over the fence with their darts or their spears or their bows and arrows and just shoot the bison like fish in a barrel. And so right here we have a piece of it's like the pelvic joint area. And so that's what this giant bone is here.
Oh my gosh, can I see that? Let me see. Wow. Folks, this is really incredible stuff. We're literally looking at these bones from so long ago. Let's see, Brent, you were saying that some of the bones are washing out of the bank. Wait, what is this?
Oh,
Right there.
well, that looks like a piece of a rib bone.
Oh my gosh.
That has eroded out.
Oh.
And yeah, and so that's what we're here to do today, is to document the bone that is eroding out, because once the bone erodes out of the context of being in the soil matrix, it doesn't really do us much good from a research perspective. So all that tells me is that at some point a large mammal was here, but the bones actually in place in the wall actually tell me about, like, I can carbon date them, or I can do isotope analysis on them to see what they were eating.
Oh wow. Okay, so really having the context of where everything is placed allows you to put the picture together of what happened in the past.
Yes, definitely.
But anything out of place does not give you a full picture.
Right.
Okay, so now I see there's this orange flagging that you all have put out, and I don't see any bones. So I'm kind of wondering what it's indicating.
There's several really distinct lenses of burnt material. So that's basically, yeah, it's like a charcoal stain. One of the really markers of a bison site, though, is that people were often digging boiling pits. So, and they would dig a pit, line it with bison hide, which is waterproof, and then they would fill it with water and crushed up bits of bison meat that were not like large pieces, but the small pieces, and then they would build a fire next to it and take hot rocks out of the fire and put it in the pit, and it would boil it.
Nice.
And so that would actually cook all the marrow out of the crushed up bones, and it would also cook all the tiny bits of meat that they wouldn't cook in like a roasting pit or something like that. Oftentimes when charcoal is deposited in a cultural context, it will be larger in the middle and go out towards the sides. So if you took your modern campfire and you know, had a flood happen on top of it to deposit soil, it would deposit in a kind of a lens shape.
This is so cool. Thank you for showing us this. I really appreciate it. And I was wondering, you know, now you're here today, and I know there's a lot of work to do, and I'm wondering, what are the next steps? So you're going to do some carbon dating on some of these things. What do you have to do today to get there?
So what we're going to do is set up a grid along this bank so that we can tell where each sample comes from, because that's almost as important as getting like the carbon sample itself, because you're giving it context to where it came from in the bank, so that you can compare it to other areas of the bank to see if there were different occupations here by people. All right, so we're gonna collect this piece of pelvis bone because it's starting to come out of the wall, and I think very likely by next spring it'll probably erode out naturally, so we'd lose all the, you know, datable material for this bone. So we're gonna take this out, and we're putting it on aluminum foil because if we put it in plastic bags, plastic is made of carbon and it can actually throw off the carbon dates.
Whoa. Okay, Brent. Wow. And you just pulled that out. What do you think this is, and is this what you're thinking, still bison?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look at how big that is.
And what do you do now? You have the aluminum, so you're not touching it, so you're not getting your carbon on your fingers on it.
Right, and so now we'll wrap this up and package it and label it so that we don't lose track of what it is, and we'll take it back and send it off to a lab for dating.
Wow. Wow, that is so great, you guys. This is how it all happens right here. So you had funding to do this, right? Where was that funding from? And
that funding came from the Glacier National Park Conservancy for us to do bank surveys of archaeological sites eroding out of banks on the east side of the park.
Okay. Okay, and you're hoping to get more funding in the future to analyze some of the...
Yes, hopefully, because it definitely costs money to send these samples off to a lab, because we can't do that in-house. We have to actually send it off to a university lab to get it actually tested.
Precise type of measuring. Yeah. Okay. So you are going to keep going down this bank, and you're going to keep on taking the pieces that you feel might be about to fall out into the river. I remember this piece, this bone that I almost stepped on before. You know, I have seen things in my life where, you know, I've seen things out in the wilderness or things when I'm hiking, and I'm never sure, like, should I take this and give it to somebody, or should I just leave it here? Like, I'm never really sure what to do. So can you tell me, what if I had found this? What would I do?
Well, so as you know, we've looked at today, you know, archaeological objects are most important when left in their context in which they're found. So it's always better to leave things where they were found. And so I always like to say, you know, if it's really old and it's not yours, don't take it.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of like a leave no trace sort of thing.
Gotcha.
You know?
Leave no trace for archaeology. If it's really old and it's not yours, don't take it. Brent, I have learned so much today. I have just been, like I said, this has been a dream of mine, and you have fulfilled it. So thank you so much. I love what we saw today and what you guys do and all the things you showed us. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure everybody out there loved it too. And everybody remember, if it's old and not yours,
don't take it.
Don't take it. Yes. So thanks again, everybody. Join us next time in early October. We're going to take a little break, but early October we'll be back. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time. Happy Glacier Science Day!
Bye.